Hello, everybody. I wanted to talk about personal finance in money today. This is going to be a long one because I'm on a long drive and I'm trying to keep awake. We're doing something really fun. My kid is going on a class trip and I'm chaperoning. I can't wait to do this. He's been excited about this for a good couple months, so it's really fun to be part of this thing. And I want to talk about personal finance. And I think that this is a super important part of our life, but we do a really terrible job. Most people do a terrible job at doing it. And I'm not saying that we are perfect. My family is perfect, but we do a pretty good job. And we're set at this moment. So at any point in time, I'm 42 years old. I think we would be okay with retiring at any point in time now. So I think we've done absolutely okay with our personal finance. Our house is paid for, and we're doing okay. And this is not a bragging thing, but I want you to sort of understand where this is coming from. And I've taken a ton of courses and I've read all sorts of stuff on money, finance, strategy, entrepreneurship, innovation, all that kind of stuff. I'm not an expert, but I'm better than most, I think, in terms of this. And I want to sort of talk about how you can manage your money so that you can do really good things. My philosophy in general is very close to Dave Ramsey philosophy. I just do not prefer his the values that he sort of promotes that are on that, and I do have a different view in terms of the world, but a lot of the basics and what he suggests are actually pretty sound. And so if you want to listen to somebody else that has been doing this for a lot longer than I am, you can listen to him. But I think that there is a lot of other things that are being overlaid in his conversation. So, coming back to this, why am I actually talking about personal finance? It comes up every once in a while whenever I go onto social, and I realize that a lot of people are sort of paying attention to really slimy kind of people that are telling advice that is extremely risky and will get people hurt. It will ultimately get people really hurt when they do this, and I don't want you to do that. I have got no benefit from this other than making sure that you live a happy and healthy life. That's my ultimate goal, is that you live a happy and healthy life and that you're well adjusted and you're doing okay. Just like I do not want to create a bunch of millionaires and all that kind of stuff, although it is not hard to do. And I know that seems like, that's sort of superfluous or whatever, it's presumptuous, that's the word of him to say. It's really not. It's really just some basic math. But the hard part is life. It's always life. And I want to talk about this, right? I want to talk about some of these things. So what is going on? All right, so how do you live a happy and healthy life? Right? That's basically what personal finance is. You want to live a happy and healthy life that is long and that you're well adjusted, but then as well, maybe you have a life that sort of extends beyond when you're here, right? Wouldn't it be amazing to have a little bit of money that you pass on to your kids when you die, or pass on to, I don't know if you like cats, you pass it on to cats. The Cat Foundation, I don't know. So what you want to do is balance your life such that you're living a happy and healthy life. And that's super hard to do for a lot of people. I'm not saying this is easy. There is a lot that goes in. You can imagine personal finance involves a lot of things about you personally, your traits, your emotional structure, I guess, like how you start. I'm a big believer. I've read a fair bit in psychology too. People are people, and we're weird. And then as well, I've read a lot in sociology. We're weird, but we also like to cluster together in groups, and we're weird in groups too. So we need to sort of combat some of these things over the long run. And when you're doing this, the ultimate goal, this is the basic model in finance anyways. It's not like, woo. The ultimate goal is for you to take money that you have today or take resources, not money, resources that you have today and spread it out over the future, right? And so what does that mean? It means taking your fun and games that you have today and spreading out some of that fun and games that you have today, your joy that you have today, and passing it on to your future self. Problem is that's damn hard to do for most people, almost everybody. It's super hard to do. The classic marshmallow experiment, some of you might have heard, is that, and I actually had a graduate student that sort of applied this and did his dissertation on companies that were able to delay gratification, just like individuals. That's what the experiment was showing. They're more innovative, and we also found results that they led to increased performance. It's not published research, it's a dissertation. That graduate student decided to go pursue other things. So unfortunately, I think it's an amazing idea, an amazing study, and I would love to pick it up again, but it's kind of stuck. Okay, so the idea is that you have to have that ability to delay gratification today for benefit tomorrow, right? So with the marshmallow, with kids, you go into a room, the experimenter went into a room, stuck a marshmallow in front of kids, left the room, and then they figured how long that they didn't eat that marshmallow was a predictor on their long-run success. And that's exactly what they found. Later on, they tracked it over like 20 years or something like that. They found that the longer the kids were able to wait and not eat that marshmallow, the more successful that they were. And it is the strongest evidence that I know of that is convincing about this basic principle. What you're doing is you're taking and what they would benefit with the marshmallow there wasn't any social sanctions. I think you got an extra marshmallow. You got 2 marshmallows or something like at the end. So it wasn't like social sanctions. You weren't going to get penalized or anything like that. You just got more benefit if you waited. Great experiment. I love it. And it's very convincing. Okay. So, that's the basic principle of what we're trying to do. What I'm trying to do is get you to realize that you have to give up some of your fun and games today for tomorrow. And the idea is that you're not giving up all of your fun and games. That's silly and nonsense, right? Like that's going to make you sort of, there's 2 things that are going to happen with that. The first one is you're going to think it sucks so much you're going to stop, and that's a bad idea, because it does suck, right? Like you're going to be like, damn it, this sucks too much. It's like if you go on a really severe diet. When you do a severe diet and you just go like hardcore at it, you do it for about 2 days and you're like, I'm done. This is not sustainable. I think we tried doing the keto thing for like 2 days. Well, man, that was miserable. I was like, no way, man, not gonna happen. So we just got rid of that. It's just like anything like that. So you want to like look at how you can parcel off some of the resources at your fingertips. Again, it's not the money that you have. It's your time. It's your social relationships. It's any number of different ways to control the resources at your fingertips, right? So you want to siphon off some of that for benefit in the future. So for me, doing a lot of the Reciprocity Project is thinking like that, right? Like I am dedicating my time towards something that is bigger than me, so that I can create something that will be bigger and awesome, awesome, bigger and awesomer in 10 years from now. It's not really like I'm doing this today for today. It's like maybe in 10 years this might turn into something that's really cool. So I'm dedicating a portion of whatever whatever money's coming in. We're continuously allocating towards this platform, but also I'm dedicating all this time and effort. Because I don't know, that's the thing. I don't know what the possibilities lay in the future, right? Like that's the key thing with this is you're thinking about two goals in your life that really matters, right? The first one is maximizing your short-run performance. That's what everybody pays attention to. And frankly, if you do that for too long, you're going to die an early life, and you're not going to be all that fun. Or you are maximizing your survival, right? That you are trying to live a long and healthy life, right? So that's why I'm saying you got to live a long and healthy and happy life, right? Like if you have those things all together, it's okay, right? Like you're doing okay. So you have to have some fun today, but then also parcel for the future. So what you're doing is you're taking a portion of whatever you're saving, or whatever that you're coming in, a total amount of coming in. So let's say you've got $10,000 coming in for your whole year, which is on the low end for somebody that's trying to live for their whole life, right? Like that's not a lot of money. But for a graduate student or for a undergraduate student, $10,000 is pretty good. So you actually just take $1,000 from that $10,000. So me, the ratio I look at is about 15%. That's where it overlaps with Dave Ramsey a lot. And take that $15,000 or $1,500 and save it away for the future. And that is long-term savings with that. Not medium-term, it's long-term savings. It's saving for something that's really big. So for us, long-term is like 20 years from now. So for us, that's saving for our retirement and, just being able to do things, just to live our life as if we didn't even retire. That is the ultimate goal, is to get to that point where you can just live your life where you're just like, whatever. It doesn't matter. So we're almost there, by the way. We're very close. I think we could do that, but, we're just being more conservative with that right now. So I'm 42 years old, and that is a possibility if we wanted to. I have walk away power at this moment. That's what that means. It means like if I don't like what I'm doing right now, and there's lots of days where I'm like, this sucks. But if I really don't like it, we could just up and decide and just say, screw it, we're done, and walk away. Okay. And never do it again, right? Like that gives you a lot of power, bargaining power in this situation. It's helped us out a lot. Helped it out sort of framing a lot of decisions in the last few years where I'm like, screw this. And allowing us to like lean into things a little bit more when we're getting pushed around by other, other forces, other things that are going on. So, that's the important thing is that you're taking money away today, some fun today for tomorrow. And then when you're doing that, you are looking at how can you appropriately, so that portion that you take away from today for tomorrow, is you're looking at how you can invest that properly. So investing is pretty easy in the sense I want to like dumb it down in the sense I don't like any of that sort of sleazy, slimy stock market crap that people talk about. That's crap, right? Absolute crap. And anybody that actually studies, finance will tell you for the most part that stuff is just crap. Technical analysis and all that kind of stuff is just crap. What you're trying to do is look at how you can balance your portfolio or do resource allocation, right? Like thinking about how can you divvy up So you've got this money, you got this pool of money, you got this $1,000, right? Coming back to this example, you take that $1,000, $1,500. So let's say $1,500. You live off of $8,500. And then you take $1,500. $8,500, not a lot of money. It's going to be super bloody hard to do. In fact, for most people, it's not possible. But we'll come back to that in a minute. So you take that $1,500, right? And then you divvy it out into appropriate investments. So I like to do, a lot of businesses have already built-in retirement plans. I like to utilize those because they generally have tax breaks associated with them. So there's a trade-off that happens. Generally, the retirement plans that they have, I really like investing in mutual funds. They generally are not, in my experience that I've seen, are not the best mutual funds that you can get, but that's okay. You want to utilize all of the tax breaks you can get, right? So there's the Roth IRA and the regular IRA in the United States. There's RRSPs in Canada. You want to maximize those savings because they have tax breaks that are associated with them. That's an important thing. Those tax breaks are a really important thing. It does save you a lot of money over the long run. So utilizing those, but then what you're looking for with it, and people get kind of confused and like, I don't know what to do. You want to look for things that are basically matching what the market is already doing, and maybe doing, it might look like they do slightly better. It's super hard to figure this stuff out. There's a lot of numbers that are associated with it that are very confusing. So that's why I just simply say, just do things that match the market. Because you have a risk of screwing things up when you do that. So that is my personal preference. However, and I do differ on Dave Ramsey on this, and I think other people do, that sort of study this stuff. And I think just getting the market is your best bet. But you can wait a little bit, like wait in the sense of like giving more value to slightly more risky assets by looking for growth, some sort of growth mutual funds that are available, right? And they just have a slightly higher growth. And all mutual funds is divvying out. So there's all these different companies operating around the world, right? And every once in a while, one of those companies does really well, and they're able to go onto the public stock market. And they trade on the public stock market. So that means everybody around the world can invest in this company because they're publicly traded. And what you do with a mutual fund is you're taking advantage of investing in many little tiny companies all over the place, right? We own a bunch of mutual funds, own a bunch of companies that are affiliated like that we basically own a bunch of companies, right? Like a bunch of little fractions of different companies. That's what a mutual fund is, right? Like I own Walmart, General Electric, all these, IBM, Google. I don't know what I actually own because I don't care, because the mutual fund does that for me. And an index fund does the same thing. That's why I talk about doing index funds or, matching the market, because all that does is it buys in a little fraction of all these little different companies that are already on the market. An index fund is just a lot more broader. So you have less risk than what you would with a mutual fund. A mutual fund is more narrower. They pick and choose different companies to be part of those mutual funds. An index fund just is any company that's on a public stock market. That's the difference. So they are a way. The reason why you group them together like that is I haven't got a friggin' clue. I'm smart. I'm pretty intelligent, and I also have a lot of education. And I'm around people that are really smart as well and give me insights and tips and stuff. I would never pick a single company because I haven't got a freaking clue what's going to happen over the next few years. And that's basically, there's this concept called bounded rationality that's really important. It basically just means that we cannot get information about the future. We are forgetful. We're just human in many different ways. And so this plays a real big role with any of this sort of finance stuff, is because we got to assume that we're human. If you are picking a stock and picking one individual company, a single stock, a single company, and investing in that, that's assuming that you're more than human, because there are a lot of people with really sophisticated machines and really sophisticated abilities that are on trading on the market, and they're doing far better things than you. So if you think as a little basically peon, right? Like we're all a bunch of little peons, that we are going to be we're going to somehow beat the market in some sort of way. You're nuts. You're absolutely nuts. You've got a lot of hubris. You're very, very full of yourself. You think that you can pick the company that's going to win in the future. I don't. I have studied this stuff. I'm smart. I'm around smart people. I would never do that in my, never. The only company that I'm investing in, and it's been a loss at this moment, is the Reciprocity Project. That's it. It's a DBA. It's a doing business ads, and so it's a sole proprietorship. And it's been a loss. We've put in a lot of money into this thing. I put in a lot of resources in it. It's a loss, but that's okay, right? Like, it's a chance I'm willing to take, because it's a way of divvying out some of these resources in a way that I think is actually not only maybe profitable in the long run, but maybe not, right? Like, I'm kind of really done with these kind of things, but hey, it's helping out people, right? And it shows people what I'm doing and all that kind of stuff, right? Like, there's a lot of other benefits to it. Okay, so coming back to that, taking some of your money, so that 15%, I like 15%, it's just a good number. And that's what Dave Ramsey recommends, so it's close to what everybody else does. So between 10 and 20%. We do 15, we probably do a little more, but that's okay. Because we can at this moment. We're less constrained in how we live. So you take that and you invest it for the long term. The long term being 10 years or more. And when you do that, what you're doing is you're smoothing. So eventually that 10 years catches up, and it does, right? Like, eventually you get to the point where, hey, wait a minute, I actually have some money there, and I'm happy that I actually did this. We're getting to the point where where that it's actually happened. So we started really investing, when I started working. So I was 31 years old, and we started doing this right off the get-go, and thankfully it was really good, right? We did okay. Okay, so what you need to realize is, all you're doing is you're smoothing. You don't want to have too much fun today, and you want to allocate it for the future, right? So you're taking that 15%, doing that sort of investment thing. It's pretty easy stuff. But here's the tricky thing. When you do that, you're not going to want to do it. It sucks, because the rest of the world does not do this. They do not do this. They do not invest for the future. They overextend themselves, and they get themselves into a lot of pickles, right? And how do they do this, right? What is going on with the rest of the world? The rest of the world has access to more resources than they actually have currently. And often that can be a good thing. Some like investments in education, for example. Some investments in some capital, for example, business capital, sometimes it's a good thing if it's a sure bet, right? If it's a good bet. So what am I talking about? These are called loans, right? Student loans, credit card loans, all these kind of things. My wife and I have one credit card, and we use it just a fraction. We barely use it, and we only use it as like when we, go across the border, and it just might be easier than using our debit card. That's it. That's the only reason we really use it, or when our debit card is on the fritz for some reason, something weird happened to it. So why is that? What's going on there? So generally, if you look at the infrastructure, and Dave Ramsey's absolutely right with this. Like, I think he's absolutely right. This is the reason why I actually think he's, some of his advice is financially pretty good. So this is where you look at the infrastructure that we have, right? Like, the finance infrastructure in this world is massive. It is marketing to a lot of people to pull out more money than they can actually afford, right? And it's a real marketing effort. If you look at it, MasterCard, you look at any of the banks, they're all trying to get you to take money out. So the reason why they do that is not to help you out. It often is not. It's a bad investment often. The reason why they do that is they are encouraging you to take that money out so they can give you more, or they can get interest off of you. They're making money off of you. So they're marketing to you just as if they're like Coca-Cola, where, you see a beautiful Coke that's sitting on the counter, or you see Coke pitchers. You want to drink that Coke, right? You do, right? It looks really nice. It's the same thing. That's what they're doing with, finances, or that's what they're doing with loans. And so most people they're driving around in cars that they don't own, they can't afford generally. They own houses that they can't afford. They're far too big. They are really stretched out. So most people around you are living in this sort of fantasy world that when they basically retire, they will either have zero money, which is at best, they'll have zero money, or they'll have negative money, and it's just at a loss. But the banks don't care about the fact that they have negative money at the end, because they've gotten so much revenue from you over the years from all of the interest that they've accumulated from you, right? They generally benefit way more by taking this interest up front from you than the loss that they're going to experience when you die in the future. That money is not worth it. They've done all these calculations, by the way. They're not dumb. These are really incredibly smart people. I teach some of these people. Some of them are really bright. A lot of them aren't. Some of them are really bright. But they're looking at you and they're thinking, wait a minute, you are a source of revenue for us. Let's figure out a way that we can get you to give us ongoing revenue every single month. So you're paying those interest payments. And that's what they're doing. And if they can get that over the course of your lifetime, right, whatever it's 70 years or 80 years, they've gotten a ton of money. And when you die, you owe, $50,000 to the bank. They don't care about that $50,000. They've already gotten $1 million from you, right? Like, they really don't care. So it's a far better deal for them to do that. So what can you do? This is where you have to take some of that fun and games that you would have had this year or every year, right? That's what I'm talking about, the fun and games of you having a good time. You take some of that fun and then you allocate it to the future. And then you also have to realize, okay, so we've got, remember back to this fictional, example of that you have $10,000, you've allocated $1,500, so you only have $8,500 left. Well, what you do with that $8,500 is you have to make it work for you in as many ways as you possibly can. So this is where you basically have, this is the whole budget thing. My wife and I kind of do a budgety kind of thing at this moment, but not really, because we've done it for so long. And we frankly are less budgety at this point, but it's really thinking about how you can live within that means. So $8,500 probably means that you're going to have to live in a place that's going to cost you about $300 to $500 per month. So $500, 5 times 12. So you're looking at $6,000, right? Just for living. It's probably too much. So you're going to have to look at a $300 place, right? So 3 times 12, $3,600. So that is possible to live, because then you've got the remaining money that's left over, which is, about $4,000 that you got left over to live off of. And by the way, with that low amount of money, you're not going to have to pay taxes. We do not pay taxes in America, in most countries, until you're making more than like $50,000. That's like most modern developed countries. That's about the going kind of rate. And you actually get money back if you earn below that for most people, right? I got money back many years when I was a graduate student, because we were putting in far too much money into education. So what you have to realize now, you've got to live off of this $300 budget for housing. What does that look like? What does a $300 budget for housing look like? For the most part, it's going to be something really, really meager. You might be able to find a regular place for that, like a room to rent, but you might have to live in a tent. But here's the thing: this is what people don't understand, is that it is perfectly fine to live in a tent. And I know you're going to take that out of context and all that kind of stuff. That's not what I'm saying. That being homeless and all that kind of stuff is I'm happy with that there's homeless people. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is you live within your means, right? And if it means that you are working your way up and you're working hard at it and you're living in a tent, that's good. That is okay. That means that's what you can do at this moment. It doesn't mean that this is like somehow, we just have to really remove what it means to live in modern times, to think about what we used to do. My grandpa lived in a bush camp when he was sort of clearing wood back in the day. This is what they used to do and they would live in tents. And it was fine. It was canvas tent, right? Like totally fine. Everybody kind of got along. We have to sort of come back and think about this, right? Like really think about what it means. So if you have to rent a room, right? That's fine too. If you're just living in a rented room, that's fine. That is completely fine and acceptable. We have to sort of really redefine. That's where you got to think about, well, what the hell is in my mind right now? What is all of this in terms of the world around us? Why do I think like this, right? It's because people told me that this is the proper way to do. Well, that's just stupid social norms, which is often wrong because people are doing really stupid things. Many people do stupid things. So, now, I'm going to tell you this. My wife is not going to live in a tent. That was like something that would never happen in my life. It'd be fine for me. I'd probably be okay. But my wife would not be. So we have to figure out a way to sort of navigate this. Okay? So what do you have to do to navigate this? Right? So you've got some money. You've only got $10,000. Not a lot of income. So that means we have to look for different sources of revenue, or looking to ways to leverage what you already have. Right? You want to take that $10,000 to $20,000. Well, this is where you lean on what you already know and what you already do, right? Everybody's got skills and assets, right? You might be cutting grass. Well, then you lean on, how can I cut grass a little better? Or how can I cut more lawns? Or can I raise my rates for cutting grass, right? Like, a lot of people don't raise rates. Well, hell no. You could raise rates. That's totally fine. People do that all the time. You get, like, adjusted. It's okay. You'll survive. You raise rates. You keep raising those rates until you start losing some customers that you don't like in the first place, right? You start losing the customers that are nickel and diming you all the time. That's totally fine, right? So you keep ratcheting those things up, but then at the same time, looking for ways that you can, looking for other opportunities. This is partly why I'm doing the Reciprocity Project, is because I'm looking for other opportunities in the future. I don't know if I forever want to be a researcher and do the academic game. I don't know. When I'm, I do get real frustrated with it. It's super frustrating. Maybe in the future I might want to do something like this, right? Like the whole reciprocity thing. So I'm putting it out there and seeing what happens. So by the time it actually gets there, then I've actually have something, right? That's the important thing. But you have to realize, so you've got to also trade off the long run, short run game when you're trying to get money, right? And that's where people get like real sleazy with this stuff, and they get snookered into doing stupid things. You have to look at, oh, by the way, I don't know if snookered is a bad word or not. I don't know if that's like, I don't think so, but if it is, I apologize for that slang. I don't think so, because it's like a card game. I don't know. So what you need to do is lean on what you already do really well, right? To be not sleazy, you might be working right now. You might be already doing something, and you lean on that even more, right? Like you actually press into it so that you can get more out of it, right? That's really the best thing that you can possibly do. So it might be working harder at the thing that you're already doing, being a better employee, all those kind of things, temporarily, right? Like that's all you're trying to do, to really push at this thing to get more revenue out of it. And it does work, right? Like that is your immediate best outcome, or that's your best possibility, is just to really lean into it so that you can you can get more revenue. Now, for a long-term benefit, all those sort of sleazy get-rich-quick schemes and all that kind of stuff doesn't work. They don't work. They're selling you some stupid course, right? Like they're just dumb. So what you need to do is think about how you can take that money that you, take some extra money or resources that you have, some resources that are at your fingertips, and look for ways to expand the opportunities that you have right now. So what does that actually look like? So for me, instead of driving and listening to podcasts right now, I'm talking to you. I'm doing my thing, right? Like this is my thing. I'm having the conversation with you, right? So this is the way I'm growing opportunities, and I just throw it out there and see what happens. And then you kind of constantly are doing that. Maybe it's volunteering someplace, right? Like you want to get into the music industry. Well, then you volunteer your time with the music industry and sort of work your way up with that. What you're constantly always trying to do, and this is how you do it, is you're trying to upgrade the skills that you have. And there's two ways you can upgrade the skills that you have. So right now you have a fixed number of skills, right? Like we're really fixed. And you can only do so much. You can only get so much money out of, your income right now, right? You can only work so much, and then you're just tired. And I wouldn't recommend to overwork too much at any time, right? Like that's dumb. But what you can do is upgrade your skills. 2 ways you could do that, right, is to work on expanding the opportunities that you may get access to. This is the reason why I'm pretty big on I'm big on doing the sort of social media things. You don't know, but it does not pay off in the short term, right? Those opportunities, unless you're very fortunate, does not pay off by doing that, right? Because you're really just building friendships. That's it. Think of how long it takes to build a friendship. Social media and all that kind of stuff, or, volunteering someplace and to build friendships. It takes you 10 years by the time you actually trust somebody, right? That you're like, you're not sleazy. It takes me 2 years. It takes me a year to figure out, is this person like sleazy? Then it takes me about 10 years by the time I'm like, okay, I trust you. I get you, and I would be able to trust my kids with you. That's kind of a good test, right? Like, if you're comfortable with leaving your kids with somebody, then, that's a good test of how much you actually trust this particular situation or this particular individual. And that's what, if you're doing social media and all this kind of stuff, it takes a long time, right? You're building relationships, you're building friendships. You're not going to change, or you're not going to get all these opportunities overnight. That's stupid. And that is something that I've had to learn, over time. And I'm like, well, crap. Yeah, no shit. I'm building, friendships and things like that, right? Like, by doing this. So there's that aspect of it. But then the other aspect is to lean on upgrading your skill set that you already have. And that's the easiest thing. This is super easy. That's where education comes in. Right? Picking an education that has value in the marketplace. And I'm not saying like, some narrow defined thing. And I'm also not saying some broad thing. Sometimes some people go wacko with education. They're either really broad and they talk about, liberal arts education and how wonderful it is. Honestly, you can't get a friggin' degree with a liberal arts. You can't get a friggin' job with a liberal arts education. Yeah, it may be that they're the CEOs right now. That's just because that's the way that the market is right now, right? Like CEOs at large companies, and they had opportunities given to them. It's like, no shit. Like, they came from rich families. If you're doing liberal arts degrees, for the most part, at some fancy Rudy Tutu college, you're probably rich in the first place. It's no guff. You're going to be the CEO in the future of some company. So that's not rocket science there. And then on the other side, people go too narrow and they do really dumb things like, taking a course on, learning how to drive a taxi cab or something like that. That's so narrow that they're stuck in that particular area, right? So you want to balance it and look for things that actually are very valuable in the marketplace and that give you a number of different skills, right? So if you need money very quickly, then you do the sort of short run thing and look for something that is going to pan out very quickly. So it might be like learning how to weld, right? Welding can give you a pretty good, damn good career. Becoming an electrician, that's going to give you a pretty damn good career. Unfortunately, there is not a lot of, typically female-oriented careers that are like that in the trades. But hell, if you're a female, go get those jobs. Like, go get those go do those degrees. Those are actually damn good careers. You have to put up with a little bit of stupidness, but you're stronger than that. You can rise to the challenge. Okay, so there's that aspect of it. But then if you want to, have more, if you want to have like a good career in a different area where you're using your skill set slightly differently, and you want sort of even more long run potential, then you might do something like getting, an engineering degree or a nursing degree, a college, a university level 4-year, 5-year degree, where it is, everybody recognizes a business degree at a good institution, not some sleazy institution. That's going to get you a job. right? An undergraduate degree at a good, solid institution. Normally, they're state-run institutions or, country-run institutions that you know about. That's going to get you a job, and that will get you a job that you can have long-run potential from that. So that's where you might think about those kind of things. Now, the reason why there's a trade-off in how quickly you're going to get money by doing those things is, on the one side, with the shorter term, community college degrees, you can do those at night, and you can do those at kind of different times, and there's less courses involved. So becoming an electrician, there's a lot of I'm blanking on it, hours, I forget the term of it, the hours that you just need to put in of actually doing the job. That's good, right? Like becoming an electrician or a plumber or an HVAC person, that's a good career, and you don't have to take as many courses. I think you take a year or 2 years of courses to learn about the basics of some of that stuff, right? And that's a good thing. And then you work at the same time, right? And then on the other side, for the college, the university degrees, that's where you get the 4 to 5 year degree. But because most of the courses require you to go during the day, it's hard to find a job of some sort, right? Like it's intermittent. Some of the courses towards the end, you're not going to get it like at night classes and things like that. So you have to really dedicate your time. The other thing is that the effort involved are different. To do a 3rd and 4th year university course in an engineering degree or a business degree requires, business degree not so much. They're easier. I'm going to tell you that right off the get-go. Culturally, they're a little easier. I don't know why. I think it's a mistake, but that's just what happens. Maybe at Wharton that's different, but at my institution it's different. It's easier. But if you were in an engineering, a 3rd and 4th year engineering course, it's a damn well lot of work, and you got to work really hard just to keep above water. So you can't allocate your time to working and things. So, coming back to this, right? And that requires an upfront investment to do these things, right? Like, that's why sometimes loans are okay. I'm okay with the student loan for an engineering degree or a nursing degree. But people get student loans that are stupid in the sense of they're either way too much money that you're getting, or so you end up buying a car and all this dumb crap that you don't need, or that you're getting a degree, you're getting a student loan for a degree that is like completely useless because you didn't think about this. And it requires you to think about, a simple question to ask yourself if you're getting one of these degrees. 2 questions to ask yourself. It is, how much money are they going to be making? And you need to get that information if you're going to do this. How much money are they going to be making within a year of getting out? That's the first thing, right? If you're making 20 grand and it costs you 20 grand to get this stupid, this course, that was a dumb course to get. Like, that was a bad financial choice. Unfortunately, and that's it, right? Like, if you're thinking financially, it was a bad financial choice to do that. But if it costs you, 50 grand to get this course, or 100 grand to get this course, and then you end up making, $80,000-$90,000 by the time you get out, that's not a bad investment, because that is year in and year out, $80,000-$90,000 adds up pretty quick. So it's actually not bad. That's why, like, engineering, nursing, and those kind of things are actually pretty good, right? They have a return. And the other question that you need to ask yourself is, how many people that started that degree, right, from the very first day, actually graduated and got a job? That is a really important question, because there are courses that you can get where there's some people at the top of the program will make really good money, right? let's say you're a pilot, for example, and you get you learn how to become an airplane pilot. Some pilots do very well, but most pilots actually don't do really well, or they take the course and then they find it's hard to get a job. So then you have to sort of weigh, what is your chance of actually getting this good job by the time that you are done your degree? And if it's, if it's basically less than 50%, that's not a great investment. If it's 80 to 90% of the people that start this particular course, and then they get they're able to finish, and then on top of it, they're able to get a job, right? 89% or 80 to 90% of the people that start the course and they get a job that pays a decent amount. That is a good financial decision to do. Now, it's up to you to sort of pick which one you want to do, in terms of the different courses, but there are opportunities that are out there. They generally revolve around some orientation around, to some degree, like either some established industry like healthcare, right? Or they revolve around business or technology. Those are the big things right now, and that's just culturally what we value. That's really what it means at the end of the day. That's what we're valuing right now. That's why they're worth more money. That's why you get a higher salary, right? Like the arts, unfortunately, are not valued as much in our economy, right? Like that's just the truth of it. So it's hard to get a job in the arts. Now, the arts is a perfect example of you can make a crap ton of money if you're good, or most people are not, right? This is thinking about what's called your distribution of the outcomes of the salary that you're getting. Sorry, my phone keeps bouncing around because it's a little bumpy here. So it's thinking about the distribution of the outcomes. It's not thinking about the average, which is what everybody thinks about, but it's thinking about what are at the tails. Where do most people, what's called at the tails, where do most people lie? And most people, if they get an art degree, do not get a job at the end of it that is within that chosen field, right? They are not going to become an artist at that point. Or if they do, they're making such low money from becoming an artist that's hard to survive and they get something else. That's just the truth of it. However, there are artists that go to a good institution that get out and they're on Broadway, or they're the star of some Broadway show that makes it really big, and they become rich and famous. That is more likely in the arts than you're going to see that in if you did like an engineering degree. It's just the structure of what's going on. However, that's slightly changing with with some of the sort of the startup-y kind of stuff that's happening in Silicon Valley, but it's the same dynamics at play in both of those industries, in both of that sort of setup. On average, startups are crap. You're not going to make that much money. You're going to get burnt. On average, going into the arts is not a good career choice. You're not going to make that much money, and you're likely going to get burnt. However, a small fraction are going to explode, and they're going to make a lot of money and become rich and famous. In both of those, it's the same outcomes. This is just basic statistics. And I wish people would understand this, but it's hard to teach people this. And some people are going to take this out of context and say, how dare you say that about an arts degree? Honestly, it's the truth. You look at it. Look at the distribution. Most people that get an arts degree have a hard time getting a job at the end of it. Okay, so we're back. I apologize for that. Had an interruption. I might get another one. I'm on a car trip right now, doing a long car trip, and parenting calls. All right, so what I want to get back to is, you can see that this is kind of a long story in terms of how to do personal finance. So you can see all of this feeds into things about yourself, or feelings about that you have about yourself, or how you sort of perceive yourself. So it really becomes very psychological in terms of who you are and what you are about. And it really involves you completely disregarding what everybody else is doing around you. It really is about thinking of how you can stand on your own and be okay. It means that you have to make a lot of these decisions by yourself, and know that you are a decent person when you do these particular decisions, right? A lot of this is pretty straightforward, but at the same time, it's not, because the world is pushing back on you, and the world is telling you that you should act a certain way. You should live in this big, beautiful house and have beautiful cars and all that kind of stuff, when in fact you're not ready for it. You're just not ready to have that kind of stuff. You haven't got to that point. How you know you're ready for it, it becomes, it's an easy, super easy step that you don't even feel it. And when you don't even feel it, where you don't have an emotional response, right? Really not a big emotional response, where it's like, meh. It's like buying, a pack of gum to do any of this kind of stuff. When it feels like that, where you're just like, whatever, that's when you know you're probably really ready to do some of the things of, that are more luxury items, right? That you can do, right? Like go on a nice vacation, or some expensive vacation, or buy a nice car, or whatever, right? Like in hopefully in the next month or two, I ordered it, and it should be coming in, but we're buying a Tesla, and we live by this philosophy of allocating resources for the future, that sort of 15%. And we've been doing that over and above to save for these luxury goods. What we've been doing is allocating some more money. And I know that requires a larger income, right? But it's not going to make a lick of difference for us at all financially if I buy this Tesla. Like not a lick, right? Like it's not going to matter. It's a drop in the hat. And that's where you should be sort of thinking about with some of these things, whether you can afford it or not. It should be such an easy thing to buy, and it's just pure excitement to buy this thing. And I'm not bragging in any sort of way. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is thinking about how you set yourself up, that you have confidence that you can push back on the world and disregard the whole world in terms of what they're doing, and say, hey, I'm fine. I can live like this below my means, and living below my means, it means not having fun in games today. It means like this kind of sucks. And, in the sense that it sucks that the rest of the world is saying you should buy something big and fancy, it doesn't suck in the sense that you can have a good life. I cleaned a lot of toilets in my life. I worked as a janitor when I was like 13, 14 years old at my church. Cleaned a lot of toilets, cut a lot of grass, and I still do those things today. I don't mind. In fact, that was my fun time. And I know that seems really stupid. You don't understand it, but it really was my fun time. Where on a Saturday when the kids were small, until I think, my oldest one was 8 years old, we did not have a cleaner in our house. We didn't have a helper. And the reason was we're saving money. We're trying to pay off our house, right? And that was an added expense. We didn't have, we didn't have cable. We drove old cars. My car right now is a 2011 Mazda CX-7, and we're going to upgrade that sucker to a Tesla, which I'm happy to do. But I still was like, it drives nice. It's okay. It's fine. But my wife is like, you need to splurge on something on yourself. It's like, okay, yeah, no, I get it. You do need to do some fun things every once in a while. That's the thing. If you've been doing this for so long, you don't give a lick about all of that kind of stuff. You don't care. I mean, to buy a Ferrari or whatever, like, who the hell cares? It doesn't matter. I might own one in the future. I might own a Lamborghini or a Ferrari, but at that point, again, it's going to be at a moment in my life where it means a lick of difference in terms of financial, what happens. So, one of my oldest sisters, she owns a great big boat. It's a great big boat. They bought it secondhand. It's one of the biggest boats in the city that she lives in. It's not a big city, but it's a great big boat, huge. We call it the yacht, and it basically is a yacht. But ultimately, because they kind of live by the same philosophy that we live, if you saw them, you'd be like, yeah, whatever. But they're doing okay, right? Like, they live a happy and healthy life, a well-adjusted, happy and healthy life, and they still can buy this boat, and it means a lick of difference to them. And that's where you should get to that moment where it means a lick of difference. You can notice that there's like compounding effects that are going on. There's what's called endogeneity, all the stuff that's kind of working together. In that, everybody starts off at making $10,000 a year. Everybody does. And it's figuring out how can you lean into what you already know and what you already do to upgrade, to do better, right? So unless you're some rich kid, whatever, that had, that their parents owned something or whatever, wasn't my circumstance, not a lot of people's circumstance, but some people have that opportunity. I get it. That's awesome, right? Unless you're that kid, most of us start off at making $10,000 a year. So my jobs, when I started, I worked at a gas station. I was a janitor. I worked at multiple gas stations to save up for university. I was doing the janitor thing. Then when I was in university, in college, university for 5 years, I did at the University of Waterloo, they have it's a co-op program where you work for 4 months and then you go to school for 4 months. Great program, highly recommend it. Hard to get into though. So that I was able to do my entire university education, my undergrad, with no debt, no school loans, anything like that. So it was really, and I was thinking about all of these things I'm thinking about, right? Of what does it actually take to get there where you are not sort of stuck, right? Then the only time that it really did suck is when I was doing my PhD, and that was, I graduated at a time when the market was down and it was hard to get a job, and there's a lot of moving factors that are going on. That's a different marketplace. It's not like the normal marketplace. But what I want people to realize is that all of this is in everybody's fingertips. Oh, by the way, my PhD, I did it in business, and it was basically a financial mistake, right? So I'm not going to recoup that PhD until I'm 55 years old. I did that financial calculation several times, and I'm not going to recoup. I'm not going to break even compared to just staying with my undergrad engineering degree. So it was a financial mistake, and I probably shouldn't have done that. And that was part of it is I was thinking about other things that were going on in terms of where I wanted to live and what I was going to do. I would have been better off, and I think about that a lot. That really plays on me. So, but some things in life are not necessarily financial decisions, but that shouldn't have been. I shouldn't have done it ultimately. So, but I did learn a lot and all that kind of stuff, and hopefully I'm trying to recoup some of that by giving back at this point. That's part of the motivation behind the Reciprocity Project. Again, there's all these things have a lot of motivations, right? Like why I do things, but part of it is like, well, shit, I got all this education, I should be sharing it, right? Like it was a bit of a financial a bad decision, how can I share it so that other people understand some of these kind of things and they can benefit from it? So that's why I'm doing the Reciprocity Project. So you could see all of this kind of plays in, right? So the way that you increase $10,000 to $20,000 is you lean into it. So you cut more grass. You raise your salary. You look for better jobs. You're always on the lookout for things. Applying to different jobs. Really, really trying to push at that. And it doesn't happen overnight. It's not a thing that happens. You're not going to find a job over the next couple of years, right? But you got to really lean on it to find something that eventually it clicks and you're like, this is pretty cool. And then on the other side, right, it's cutting back all the time where you are living below your means. I still drive a junky car, which is, if you go into the parking lot of where I work, given how much I make and everybody else, that's weird. That is really weird. I don't see too many people driving around in junky cars with the salary that I actually have. And I'm not bragging, but that's just the truth of it. And the reason is I'm thinking about how to sort of grow this, right? Like, I don't want to be just living off of where I am at this moment and thinking about ways to do better, and we could just walk away, right? If I get screwed at work, or if I just get pissed off enough, I just walk away. I don't have to work. And we're at a moment where we could do that, and I hope everybody can do that, right? And I'm not saying everybody go become business professors or whatever. What I'm saying is that is a possibility in all your careers, whatever you do. If you work at McDonald's, you have so much opportunity to move up in McDonald's. It is a large corporation, massive large corporation. You don't think that they don't want somebody to move up in the ranks to do, to run several of their stores or to work in the headquarters? Heck yeah, they're looking for somebody that understands where these people come from, that are working on the fry line and all that kind of stuff. They're really looking for that kind of stuff, so you lean into it. If you're working at McDonald's, you be the best damn well McDonald's employee that they ever had, and then you work your way up, because you can get thrown opportunities as you do that. The other thing is to realize, like, it doesn't matter if you're working at McDonald's, you're in construction, whatever, all of this stuff is at your fingertips. And it means just leaning into it, being a good, solid citizen. That's really what I'm talking about. Good, solid citizen, and trying to make good choices all the time. Really thinking about, is this the right thing for me? If you are, and this is where, I really do think, like, some things are really not great for people. Like drinking, for example, heavy drinking. It's okay to occasionally drink and have fun and all that kind of stuff, but it's in moderation, right? Like, a heavy drinking is going to screw up your life. You're going to you're going to get depressed. It ultimately makes you depressed. It ultimately makes you feel grumpy, and it ultimately is going to affect your life and career very much so by doing that. Smoking, same thing. Like, it's expensive, right? And so you're thinking about all these different things that are in your life, like eating too much ice cream, right? Having some ice cream is great. It's awesome. I love eating ice cream. But you don't want to eat too much, because then you turn into a big ice cream cone, right? Like, you need to sort of think about these kind of things where you're balancing and trading off what gives you pleasure today for, you want to, like, look at what's giving you pleasure today, immediate pleasure, and look at, okay, wait a minute, is this going to hurt me in the long run by having this immediate pleasure, right? Like, having too much sex feels great today. It does. It feels good, but then you're going to be lazy and doing nothing, for the rest of the rest of your life, if that's all you do all the time, right? Like, you can't get anything done. So you need to think about, okay, I got to, like, moderate these kind of things, have some enjoyment every once in a while, right? Like, live a healthy, well-adjusted life, And then by pulling back on some of these things, you can allocate your resources to do other things, right? Like last night, right? Like last night, I went to bed early because I had to get up early. And I'm moderating. Okay, I can't stay up and watch TV and have some of the things I would love to do. I wanted to post some things on YouTube, and I couldn't do it. So it's like, because I got to get up early. So I'm moderating that, pulling back some of this fun, some of this benefit today, so that I can get something tomorrow. Right? I had to get up early. Now it's 7:50. I've been driving since we got up at 4:40 in the morning. So that's what you're thinking about, is what is it in your life that you can make stable? What is it that you can really be boring? Right? There's all of this coming together. You can see it all kind of comes together. What can you make boring in your life, consistent, that you are going to do okay? And then what can you sort of trade off today, some benefit, where you're okay with trading that off to get some benefit in the future, so you can invest in different things in the future, right? So I'm trading off my relaxing trip of listening to podcasts and everybody else doing things to talk about this with you today. That is a real active trade-off. My throat is sore. I've been talking for a long time. It's a trade-off at this moment where I'm like, okay, I want you to benefit, because I think maybe if you listen to this and it catches somebody in the right way, they listen to it over the next year, they pay attention to it, and they're like, wait a minute, that makes sense. And then, they apply some of these things in their life. Then in 20 years, they're like, well, crap, my life is pretty good now because of this. I might reach out to that Professor Maslach guy and say thank you, or, help out with the Reciprocity Project or whatever, right? Like, I don't know how this stuff works. I don't know how this is all going to come back, but it kind of does, not in the karma sense, right? Like, but it comes back as like, wait a minute, that really changed my life. That really stuck with me. And I might actually try to reach out to this person and maybe try to help them out in different ways. And now, it's not everybody that's going to do this, so that's the tricky part, right? Like, that's where everybody realizes. You don't realize it's a fraction, right? So there's probably this video, or this podcast might get listened to 1,000 times between now and 100 years from now. But only one person might get touched enough that they reach out and actually do something. And that's the name of the game, right? That's the name of the game. And if they don't, whatever. I mean, I just put out some goodwill and everybody's happy-dappy, right? That's a good thing. So what I want to come back to is realizing you're really always trading off what you can sort of take away today, some fun and games to give benefit tomorrow, so that you are living a happy and healthy life. And the goal is you don't want to go to the extreme where you're taking off too much, right? And that's why I say 15% is pretty good amount, right? Whatever that amount is, that's whatever is good for you, that's good for you, but 15% is a good amount. And so you don't want to, if you siphon off too much, if you're taking away too much of whatever resources that you have allocated to you, it sucks, right? Like, you're living a not a great life. So part of me giving away my resources is my knowledge. It's also my time, right? I give a lot. I probably give about 15%, 20% of my time and my knowledge right now away for free on the internet, on the Reciprocity Project. So everybody can sort of, listen to it and gain something from it. And now, whether you want to give back in different ways and allocate your resources in different ways, that's completely up to you. You can go work at a soup kitchen and do those kind of things and enjoy it. And the reason is you're just doing it because you don't know whether it's going to come back at you at some point. And you might benefit from that. And it's also kind of enjoyable, right? Part of the problem that I really had many times was I really struggled with loneliness and things like that. And so by keeping active and doing these kind of things, I do not have time to be lonely. I am so busy all the time now. So I don't even have time to ever be lonely and be like, I can't, do these kind of feel bad. So it's just like balancing all these things. And that's where I'm saying you have a certain amount of resources at your fingertips. And those resources, some of them deplete over time, like your time, that disappears. And some of them get bigger, right? Like hopefully if you listen to this and invest in index funds and growth mutual funds of 15% or whatever you make going forward, that'll make you a lot of money. And that's where there's an easy financial calculation to figure this out. Super, super easy. It is, to do these things, you just go onto a savings calculator on the internet. I know Bankrate has one or whatever, and just punch in. On average, the stock market makes you on index funds. Now, this might change in the future. I doubt it. Really, really strongly doubt it. Makes about 10% per year. So if you look at saving 10% or saving whatever you make and it accruing 10% per year, that adds up. Even if you're making like $50,000 a year, that adds up to millions of dollars by the time that you are older, by the time it's 30, 40 years from now, right? And so you can start this at any time of your life and still do okay, right? And do you need millions of dollars? Probably not, but do you need, hundreds of thousands of dollars by the time you want to retire? Yes. You're going to need that. There's a lot of things that are really expensive. So I just want to summarize, now that I've done this long talk at this point. My throat's getting sore, so I need to stop. But I just want to summarize. Think about managing yourself as if you are a sole proprietor, a company, and think about all the ways that you would want that company to operate. If you want Crazy Town, the building falling apart and, all a bunch of parties all the time that are in the parking lot and, there's all just crazy all over the place, then live your, run your company in that sort of way where it's just Crazy Town. If you want a stable, well-adjusted, happy, business that's building up, that's growing, and that every year consistently it provides benefit for you, then run your sole proprietorship, in that sort of way where you're balancing the resources such that you're looking for long-run growth, medium-term growth sometimes, short-run growth, and as well as balancing how you feel today, where you are you're always trying to be as stable as you possibly can. Stability is completely underrated. Being stable, being boring is where you actually get the returns. This is true. Actually, there's sort of finance studies that look at this stuff. Stable markets, stable businesses actually do net you benefit in the long run. Now, why is that? Why is stability so good? Why do I say that's a really big reason why people actually make money? Is because other people do not want to invest in an asset that could disappear, or that they can lose their money in, or that return is going to disappear. They look at somebody that's stable, that's got their crap together, and they want to invest in it. They want to give money to it. You're an easy investment in that way. So businesses that are stable, that return a certain amount all the time, are an easy investment. Individuals that are stable, that are growing and developing and doing wonderful things, they're a crazy easy investment for other people because they know that you're reliable and you're going to show up. Trust me, think about all the times that you have been burnt in your life. It's probably because that person was not stable in their life, and you're like, crap, I got burnt from this. And you get burnt a lot as you get older. A lot. Stability, being boring, being consistent is the way that you do this. And the way that you do that is thinking about how do you trade off the sort of fun and games and having a great time today for benefit in the future. That goes for trading off working too hard today because you're going to make a bunch of money for, that so that you can have some, trading off working all the time and all that kind of stuff, so that you can become super successful and all that kind of crap, where you are stable so that you don't have a heart attack early on in your life, or you don't get divorced, or your spouse wants to be by you, or your family wants to be by you. Trading off all of those things, that sort of immediate gratification, that pushing real hard, or having great big parties and all that kind of stuff, it's all the same game, where you're trading off all of this short run benefit for more long run survival, so that you're building stability in everybody else around you. You're like glue. That's the way you think about it. I think, I don't know if it was on the Wonder Years or something. I think that's what there was. I remember the Wonder Years from long time ago. I used to watch that a long time ago. Movie from the 80s. And I think they were talking about how Kevin was the glue that keeps everybody together. And that's what you want to be, sort of, is the glue where you keep everybody together because you're stable over time and you're constantly thinking about how can I trade off immediate benefit for long run benefit that's larger, that's better, but it requires some sacrifice today. So that's where I want to leave you at. Thanks so much for listening. Hopefully you enjoyed this long car talk. I enjoyed talking to you. I appreciate each and every one of you. All right, take care and have a wonderful day.